Hello there, this is Ina from Taproot Tarot, and today I'm going to show you a bunch of black and white or black and white adjacent decks. I actually have three categories in that regard because of course I overthought it. But a few months ago, I found myself being drawn to some of my black and white decks and just finding their energy to be really soothing and just not very overstimulating, which at that time I guess is what I was looking for. And yeah, I just really like black and white decks for a lot of reasons. Also, I just enjoy the artwork. I like the artwork of medieval and Renaissance emblemata, which is often preserved in, I would say, kind of in the form of the line work without it being colorized. Which, you know, most of it would have been intended at some point to be colorized. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I started thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a video showing some of my black and white decks. And then shortly after that, Esther from Mindful Tarot started doing her wobble readings on her Instagram with a different black and white deck each reading, and also talking about how she enjoyed and was sometimes drawn to black and white decks. So I thought that was very cool. And then not too long after that, Ellen at Moomin Tarot did a video where she started talking about her black and white decks and how she was kind of being drawn to them as well. And I commented on that video saying, ooh, you know, I've been feeling kind of the same way. I wonder if there's something in the air right now, because Esther at Mindful Tarot is also showing hers on Instagram. And you know, I was thinking I'd probably do a video of my black and white decks, and Ellen was like, oh, that's a great idea, I'll do that too. So she's already done hers, and I will link her video in my description. And now I'm finally getting around to mine. Now, some time ago, I've planned to do this for a really long time, and I'm only now getting to it. That is me. I will get to it eventually, but not expediently in most cases. So a while back, I started looking to see if there were tags for black and white decks, and sure enough, there are. The OG one is from Laura at Aquamarine 18 Tarot, and that is from September of 2019, and the tag is black and white decks. So I will include that hashtag as well as their original video. Now, shortly thereafter, Liz at West Star Tarot, this was in February of 2020, posted a VR and created the hashtag My Black and White Decks. So I will tag this video with that as well and include Liz's video. Now, Liz's video was a VR to a video by none other than Esther, then known as Lisa, from Mindful Tarot, talking about her black and white decks. So it kind of came full circle. So I will post all three of those videos, as well as Esther's Instagram, in my description if you're interested in checking out those decks. So, like I said, I put these into three categories. These are my straight up black and white ones. I'm pretty sure this is black and white, although it is unopened, so we're going to do a little unboxing. But this will be my final category. And the first category I'm going to do is decks that are where the main art is black and white, but it has some elements or maybe little flourishes that are not black and white. Black and white or otherwise two-toned. I think that would be the term. I don't think monochromatic is the right term. Two-toned is a little more general. Do I have any ska fans in the audience? Definitely was in middle school and high school a ska fan, and still am at heart. Okay, so here we have the Medieval Mischief Tarot. It's a cute little mini deck by Ricardo Gil Ferraro, and it is, the main art is black and white. It does have greenbacks, as you'll see, and then it has a little elemental symbol on all of the quartz and pips, and the triumphs have a number in purple. Oh, and the elemental symbols are in color. So little colorful additions, but again, the main art, like I said, is in black and white. It also includes a cheat sheet for the different astrological and elemental symbolism on the cards, which is pretty handy. And I have got, I think, 15 decks to show you, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. This I would call an eclectic deck. The triumphs are from a historical tradition not in the Marseille pattern necessarily, but influenced by Marseille tradition, I would say, but with other references to other historical decks, which I really enjoy. And then the pips and the associations are all Golden Dawn influenced, I would say, with other influences as well. The knights are C for Chevalier, and the art is just so interesting. I really enjoy it. And it's just kind of a simple, quirky and humorous deck in some places, and also just like weird, which I enjoy. I love this tower. Look how cool that is. So good. And I absolutely love this. If you've heard me talk about the Hermit card and the conflation of Kronos and Saturn, time and Saturn, in other words, and how this is kind of a blend of the two. I love it. It's pretty cool. I don't know if this is a self-portrait of the artist, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, this is a fun deck, and I would call that mostly black and white for sure. And that is the Medieval Mischief Tarot. This is a US Games deck, and it comes in a sturdy little 2-part box. These are the Angel Tarot and Occult Tarot by Travis McHenry. These are the mass market pocket editions. And the reason I got these is because McHenry used historical emblemata and otherwise artwork. And I would say the main portion of these is in black and white with, you know, little embellishments and additions in other colors. But these are based on black and white line work from historical art. And that is why I got it, because this kind of art is just of interest to me. The indie editions of these are much nicer with like antiquing in the backgrounds. I think this is actually the Demon Tarot in the indie edition, so I guess they had to clean it up a little bit to go mass market, both in linguistically, but also in the background. So we don't have the fun antiqued background, but it is just cool historical art, which I think is fantastic. So I got it out of interest. They're still in order. I haven't used them. I might, I don't know. They don't align too well with my reading style, but they might be fun to use as oracle decks. But really I just got them because I'm super interested in the art. It's like the Starbucks style mermaid. It's super fun stuff. How cool is that? All right, so that is the mass market edition of the Occult Tarot and the Angel Tarot, the pocket edition by Travis McHenry. And again, this is in my category of the main art is black and white with maybe a little bit of color flourishes or additions. I hesitated to show this because it's an accidentally purchased pirated deck, but I thought I could take the opportunity to link the original creator's deck on Etsy. And this is by Alexander Daniloff. I bought this off of Etsy on a whim because it was marked down. It was on sale for a very low price and free shipping. And I just thought it was a deck of playing cards that looked cool. I didn't put much thought into it. A lot of decks of playing cards are inexpensive, so it didn't occur to me till I got it. And it has this kind of title sheet or certificate that makes it clear that this is a numbered indie production. So I did then research it and find that the actual deck of cards is tarot sized, which would be cool to see the detailed art a little better. The creator, I think, is in Italy. By the way, this is a Lenormand deck. And so upon looking at the original listing, I realized the creator did not lose any money by my purchasing this because it's very expensive shipping. You know, I bought it only because it was inexpensive. I don't even read Lenormand yet. And, you know, I really just bought it because it's a heraldic playing card deck, which is kind of up my alley as far as art interest goes. So I didn't return it and purchase the original, which is normally what I would do if it were a deck I was really interested in getting and accidentally bought a pirated copy. What I did do was report the seller, and I left a review so that anyone else unsuspecting would know that this is a pirated deck, and just referred them to the actual author by name. But you'll see that these are mostly black and white drawings with a little bit of color. So the pikes, which are the spades, have purple. The clovers or clubs have some green in them. It's not an easily read Lenormand deck. This is mice, for example. The hearts have some red in them. This is the rider. And so the playing card aspect of the deck is more obvious than it would be in a normal Lenormand deck, which is kind of cool. And then the paving tiles or diamonds are in this yellow, orange, goldenrod kind of color. Here we have the sun. Sky? No, sun. Yeah, that's sun. Like I said, I don't read Lenormand. So it's really cool art, and I'm only showing it because if you think this is cool, I highly recommend supporting the original artist if that level of shipping is in your budget. These are poker-sized cards, and that is not the case with the original deck, which is tarot-sized. The next deck in this category is the Medieval Feathers Tarot by Alejandro Rojan. He created one of my favorites, which is the Tarot de Ambiguities, I think it's called. And then he has a recent mashup of Pixies Marseille. I've been seeing those being featured. And if you don't know, he had an earlier Marseille RWS mashup, which is in Marseille art style, but with the imagery based on the Smithwaite deck. So kind of an opposite opposite mashup there. And then he is currently working on a Toth style tarot in the style of a Marseille deck. And that one looks stunning. I would definitely be interested in that. So this has black and white drawings, which have the addition of a feather, which is in color. Here is a Querent deck, or a Querent card. And we have a Thunderbolt card, La Foudre. The thing I really dislike about this is the borders with the keywords, and you can tell that this was made to be a card without those borders, so it bums me out. It's a little bit oversized. The keywords are Golden Dawn inspired, so that's unfortunate. But as you can see, Alejandro Rojan is very well versed in various historical deck styles, and he brings those into his art, and it's just gorgeous. And then on top of that, it's almost like a little bit of an oracle additional meaning with this feather. Le Maison Dieu. And I would call this black and white with some antiquing to it. Justice. Super traditional. I did find a video from somebody, I think a person who's German speaking, who trimmed their deck. The main thing I was concerned about with trimming is that it would kind of mess up this, the back, but it really didn't look too bad in the trimmed version that I saw. So I think I might trim this because I would definitely use it more. Maybe even just leaving a little bit of the white, just trim it right up to those words. I have never trimmed a deck, but I think it would be worth it for this. This art is fantastic. Very traditional juggler portrayal with the monkey and everything. And then a little tiny set of Marseille cards there. Absolutely fantastic. Just love it. So I would include this as a black and white deck with antiquing to it, as well as the addition of these colorful feathers. The cardinal feather for the Pope, how cool is that? And I think trimming it will make it a little more shuffleable. It is shuffleable, but the cards are a bit on the long side, so I think it'll be easier to shuffle once I trim it. So wish me luck. This might be my first trimming project. The knights, at least some of the knights, all the knights maybe, are centaurs. Which, you know, I love that historical detail. I love this star card. It's kind of a cross between the traditional astronomer, but also kind of looks like one of the Magi, just with his headdress. And those are both subjects often found on historical star cards, so I just love it. It's fantastic. So I'll keep you posted. If I do trim it, I will let you know how that goes. Look how awesome this Ace of Batons is. So anyway, that is the Medieval Feathers Tarot by Alejandro Rojan. And the last deck in this category is the Battleay Tarot. This one is super cool, very different. And you'll see the backs are lovely and in color. Really neat presentation, although I will say the inside of the box is a little flimsy. But it looks cool. And it has a good sized book, which is good because there's a lot to it. And you'll see the drawings themselves are in black and white, but they do have a dark brown border on the top and bottom. Lots of historical references and made to look like some of those old style emblemata etchings, which I just adore. The interesting thing is, so like this 4 of Batons is Jupiter. So all the 4s will be Jupiter, but a different depiction. So I'll save this Jupiter out so I can show you another one. There's a King of Cups, super detailed and intricate. And I think adding color to this would take away from some of this detail. So here's a 6 of Coins as Soul. So all of the 6s will be Soul. 3 is Saturn. Actually, these are some of my favorites. So here's another Saturn. So you can see both of these 3s are Saturn. They have the same, no, they do not have the same, like the elemental imagery is dependent on the suit. But then the other imagery is all based on the character, and possibly the number. So those are the other 3 little symbols are the same. But yeah, 2 different Saturns. They look quite different. But all of the 3s are Saturn. There's just a ton of cool historical references, like with these coats of arms, which we see in cards quite often. She's got a raven, perhaps, or crow on her shoulder. This deck is a lot. This is a deck that I definitely use the book for. It's not one that I just get out and read. Here's the world. And so I've just used it a little bit here and there. And it's been fascinating. This is one that I'll get out for, you know, if I have time to really sit down and learn something. So here is Luna for the 9. Here's yet another Saturn depiction. This one's super cool with the wings. The Fool. Lots of coats of arms. Here's a knight. Very cool devil. Look at this death. So yeah, you can see why this is very much my taste. I just love it. Oh, I was holding out for another 4. I saved this one aside. So here we have 4 of Batons as one depiction of Jupiter, and a 4 of Coins as another depiction of Jupiter. Soul, or the Sun, as 6. I remember reading about the 7. It's Aphrodite and Eros, I'm pretty sure. But there was a reason she wasn't labeled. And now I'm not remembering. It's been a while since I've looked at it. Here's another Luna as Diana with her hound. Super cool Justice. So yeah, super Interesting. Oh, there, yeah, here's another 7. Oh, and this one does say Venus. I don't know why this one isn't labeled. I remember looking at that and wondering about it. And I think it's noted in the book, but it has been a while since I looked that up. So, Empress, really amazing details. Juggler, very traditional. I think you can see how color might take away from this intricate line work. There's another Mars for 5. Terra for 10. How cool is she? All right. So anyway, that is the Badeley Tarot. Really lovely deck. I really enjoy it. Definitely a study deck. And I guess when I say study deck, it's not one I'm just going to get out and read without the book. Definitely use it to access the book. It has a lovely presentation, although the lining of the box is not super sturdy, but this book is hefty. So that is, oh, by the way, it's Blue Angel, and it is by Jake Badeley, 2025. So that is the category of black and white decks which have slight additions, flourishes of color to them, but where the main art was black and white. The next one are my decks that are not totally black and white. They might be sepia toned, but they're still two-toned and basically black and white. So this one is made by Leonard Jim Narciso. It's a Lenormand deck, and you might recall that he made the Tarot di Maria Celia. And this one's really cool. He is from the Philippines, and this is a traditional shadow puppet using paper cutting technique from the Philippines, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and Anino is the Filipino word for shadow. The world of Lenormand is brought to life in this deck through compelling multicultural imagery inspired by shadow puppets, graffiti, ethnic textile patterns, doodles, and paper cutting traditions, while still closely following the standardized card meanings and icons of the Lenormand. And these are available from the person who made the recreation of the Mamluk cards, Spiorad. Also is selling the Paralumen decks. All of the Paralumen Lenormand cards also come with the Zodiac cards. So this is just stunning, gorgeous art. And as you can see, not black and white, but it's brown and antique. Two-toned for sure. And they were printed, although they're not for sale, on Make Playing Cards. This seems to be a Make Playing Cards production, as far as I can tell. And here we get into the zodiac signs. It's all well labeled, so there's no confusion. And it's a gorgeous back. And then the, oops, here's Aries. And you can treat this as a separate oracle, if you like, or combine it with the Lenormand. But he does include a little info card on the Zodiac Oracle as well. So that is the Anino Lenormand by Leonard Jim Narciso of Paralumen Studios. And it's not quite black and white, but two-toned, sepia tone kind of deck. In that same color vein, we have Ship of Fools Tarot by the late Brian Williams. And I learned about this deck on Nyx's channel from Key Features. And this is a very old production, so it's got a weird setup. I got this unopened, and even though these are old, 2002 and out of print, they're pretty readily available. I'm going to guess that they weren't super popular. So I have found that they're pretty inexpensively available, even in unopened condition. So the Book of Fools is an old manuscript. It says, inspired by the art of Sebastian Brandt's Narrenschiff. Oh, it's the boat, the Ship of Fools, that's right. So Narrenschiff is the Ship of Fools. So here, the book is the Book of Fools. And then, yeah, we have this weird little separate box that has the deck in it. And I got this largely because it has information about an interesting historical manuscript, and Brian Williams was a pretty good historian, pretty good tarot historian. So here's the back. All of the cards have a fool, which is fun. And it's not quite black and white, but it's kind of a, it's a little more yellow than what's showing up on camera. This is kind of a yellowed parchment color with some brown line work. So here's the Pope. The Mountebank is the Magician. Mountebank is kind of a scam artist a little bit, or maybe like a salesperson who's not super, someone selling you snake oil would be a Mountebank. The Papess. There's the Empress. And each one has a fool character. You can see he might be a fool character, but then she's got the hat with ass's ears, which is a typical fool garb, decorating the tent. Here's a fool imploring an emperor. Oh, and here is the vagabond, the fool himself. So this art is just lovely, and a lot of it, like you can see, is so detailed that, again, any coloration might take away from the detail of the line work. Sometimes coloration will make the line work easier to see. It depends. But there are a bunch of just historical references, like this ape-like individual. I've talked about that in my History of the Tarot of Paris video. Super interesting imagery. So I don't know how readable this deck is. I haven't tried to read with it, but I have it because it's a Brian Williams deck. He made the Minchiate Tarot and actually the first Minchiate book in the English language. All sorts of asses in the Wheel of Fortune, which is super appropriate in a Fool themed deck. The string also includes an ass. It's just fun. And yeah, I think I saw it on Nyx's channel and found that I could buy a copy for like 13 bucks on, I think I got it on one of the resale shops, resale sites. That's a very cool tower. But it's just fun and interesting. It does have illustrated pip cards, you can see. But the triumphs are more historical in nature. Super fun. And I would call this a black and white deck. Oh yeah, I already looked at this. Just on a historical note, this is kind of fun. Some little very old school recommendations from Llewellyn, tips on caring for your tarot cards. That's kind of fun. So yeah, this deck is also just a kind of a novelty for the history of it. Old school style packaging and everything. So that is the Ship of Fools Tarot by Brian Williams. Next, you've seen this one quite a bit of times on my channel. It's the Rosenwald Redux Tarot by Robby Fowler. And I would call this a basically black and white, but the background is more sepia toned. It's again more yellow in real life than what it is showing up in the camera, with the addition of some Minchiate style cards. I have a whole video on this and the history of the Rosenwald, so I will link that in the description for you if you're interested. And the Rosenwald sheets are only available in black and white sheet form. They were discarded printed sheets of cards that were used in bookbinding, which is the only reason they've been preserved. Some magnificent historian took apart a book with enough care to preserve these sheets. So that's why they're in black and white. They would have likely been colored or printed with some color on them as playing cards. So absolutely lovely, very usable, casino quality cardstock, and just a delight of a Minchiate style deck and the earliest known mass market style deck of tarot cards. The earliest complete deck, I should say. And finally, in this category of almost black and white, we have the Anima Antiqua version of the Giovanni Vacchetta Tarot. And this is what I would consider an art deck. Among historical decks, an art deck would be one that an artist creates to gift to a potential patron, or as a commission for a wedding gift or something like that, to showcase their individual art style. So it won't necessarily follow the patterns that the card making guilds are following. Like the Metelli would be another example of such a deck. And Vacchetta would not have chosen the colors. He simply did the line work. And it's absolutely beautiful. The Tarot of the Master I do have somewhere, which also has a version of coloration, but none of the colors that you see on these versions of the deck will be original art. It's absolutely beautiful, and I really like having a black and white copy. You can see how different cards possibly came from different print runs of this deck in order to complete a full deck. So this is not in print anymore. It was when I got it, so I got it for a nice reasonable price while it was in print, and now it's maybe a little more valuable, which I feel very lucky to have a copy of it. I don't have what I would consider a nice copy in color of this deck. I haven't found one that I like yet. I do like the Il Manigello one. Maybe one day I might get that. The Tarot of the Master is nice, but it's got all those, Lo Scarabeo titles all over it. Absolutely stunning, with a nice little history included. I love having this deck on hand as a reference. So that is the Vacchetta deck by Lo Scarabeo, Anima Antiqua. And finally, the last category is straight up black and white decks, which I'm pretty sure this is one of, but I'm not positive. I just received this. There's somebody on eBay who used to provide historical playing cards for movie sets, and they're clearing out their inventory. So the decks are like $6 or $7 each. And this one didn't have any information about it. It's the King Henry VIII deck, but looking it up, it seems to be a precursor in the style of the Game of Hope, which is what the Lenormand cards are based on. So this, as far as I know, is like the original packaging for this deck, and it has Aesop's Fables as the imagery in addition to playing card imagery. So super interesting, but it is packaged in such a way that once I undo this, there's no binding it, I guess. Oh my, okay. So yeah, this is like glued down. Oh, I hate to rip this open, but I guess that's how it's meant to be, huh? I'll have to think about how I'm going to preserve this packaging. Well, this is an experience. Oh shoot, I did rip it. So it's King Henry VIII. It says for exportation, 50 pounds penalty, relanded, and 20 pounds if sold or used in Great Britain. So relanded, I guess, is exported. That's cool. Oh, this glue is very unfortunate. Oh no. All right. Okay, so that is the overcovering. This says, this reproduction of 18th century playing cards was especially produced for Colonel Williamsburg Foundation. Superfine Henry VIII cards made by L. Kirk in London, or I. Kirk rather. There we go. All of the cards that I got from the seller do not have backs, which is traditional, or do not have anything on the backs. So as you can see, there is a little fable and then a little bit of a card reference in the corner there. So if you want to know more about the history of this type of card, especially the original Game of Hope, which is what the Lenormand cards are, I recommend this. This is from AGM, and it's Lenormand, and it comes with a book that tells you about the history. It even includes the original instructions that came with the original Game of Hope deck, and it is all the imagery that we're familiar with. It was created as a playing game, kind of more the style of a board game, probably before board games existed, and was only later repurposed as a fortune-telling deck. So this type of deck was more commonplace, and this is one example of those. So we have the ant and the fly with Ace of Spades. I wonder if this might be a complete deck, unlike the Game of Hope. Maybe not. I don't know, it's kind of feeling like a complete deck to me. And I need to look more into what the reasoning was behind making decks like this. It's very common, and I've read about this from Robert M. Place, where storytelling decks like this were commonplace, and they just kind of naturally led into fortune telling. So yeah, this looks like a complete 52 card deck, which sets it apart from the Game of Hope. So this is super interesting. You have the eagle and the tortoise, the sick lion as the Queen of Spades, and it tells the little fable and then the moral at the end. So let's read this one together. It has a very nice image, so I'll try to put that in focus for you while I read it to you. The lion past his hunting youth pretends he's sick and begs the visits of his friends. All but the fox obeys, who thus bespoke footsteps to dens I find, but none turned back. Moral, that man is truly circumspect alone, that by others fail declines his own. I have no frickin' idea. I would have to read that with much more focus without trying to keep my card visible to you and all that. I have no idea what that just said. All right, let's see if this one makes a little bit more sense. This is a very cool image with some herons in it. How gorgeous. So this is the Ace of Hearts, and it's the fable of the two pots of earth and something, I don't know, braffs, at distance swim. The first of lighter birth. Yeah, no. That's a no. The first of lighter burthen ents, the something? See, that's where I gave up. I'm sorry. I thought, oh, it's about two pots. That's going to be, simple and easy. The braffs entreats her stay, but the replied, No, thine's too hard to touch my tender fide. The moral. Mix not with something whole wealth, for thine's too great. Left something pride should bring about thy fate. That's funny. Okay. I have, I studied English literature enough to like read Beowulf and stuff. Not the original, I read the translations, but learned a little bit of the, I think Beowulf was Middle English, is it? I don't think it's quite Old English, but I have a little bit of familiarity with older styles of English from a long time ago. And even still, this is beyond me today without looking some stuff up for sure. But how cool is it? It's a lovely little black and white deck, which kind of, ooh, how awesome is that? This art is amazing. Love this. And this is a dolphin. We're a little bit taxonomically imprecise here, but that's all right. Super glad to have this, just as I learn a little bit more about the history of Lenormand. I do have a couple of books from an author who focuses on meanings that are more historically grounded, and I will link her Instagram page and put the titles of her books. I haven't read them yet. I'm just not quite ready for a Lenormand study quite yet, but will be, certainly. So that's something you can look forward to sometime in the future on my channel, is something about the history of Lenormand cards rooted in these kind of, historical traditions. So this is King Henry VIII Oracle. The way I was able to find information on it was just to do an image search. So if you're interested, I will link that eBay seller. He had several historical playing card decks, which were pretty cool. And like I said, he's clearing out his inventory, so they're very inexpensive. I will definitely be repackaging this off camera because that's going to be a process. Next, we have a Mantegna deck. The Mantegna images were not originally a deck, but were didactic images. This is one I got used. It's a very cute little Il Manighello production from 1987. The backs are plain. And there are two series of Mantegna images. This is the less fine series. Fine as in just the quality of the line work. But it's still quite lovely. And this is my only Mantegna deck that is in black and white. The other one I have is the colorized and blingy shiny metallic version, which I love, but it's nice to also just have a black and white version for reference. And these are super cute. So didactic decks have kind of a moralizing, educational quality to them. And the Mantegna discusses different stages or stations in life, different virtues and educational pursuits. Here's a Misero, which would be like a fool. There's a nobleman. Love this emperor. And yeah, when we get up into the celestial cards, we have like celestial spheres, philosophical spheres, I guess. So it's a super cool set of images to study, sometimes misnamed as a tarot or tarot, but this would never have been a deck of cards. It would have been studied either in book form or in loose sheets of paper, but not necessarily created into playing cards. And these are just so tiny and cute. So one of the upcoming ones I will show you is the Inversion Tarot, which you know is the standard US Games size, pocket-sized deck, tarot in a tin. And you can see, compared to that, this is a very tiny. So this is a super mini deck. That is the Il Manighello 1987 edition of the Mantegna, so-called Mantegna images. The artist who created this was not actually Mantegna. It comes in a cute little book style packaging. So let's look at the Inversion Tarot. I'm basically showing you all of my black and white decks, so I know you've seen this. There is one exception. There's one I chose to leave out because it's a surprise. It's one that I have saved for a special project. So this is based on the Rolla, or Roya, yeah, Rolla, I think, R-O-L-L-A tarot, which is white with black line work. And I actually prefer the inverted coloration, but the line work is so much better on the Rolla Tarot. For one thing, they don't switch Justice and Fortitude or Strength around, so this would be number 8 on the Rolla Tarot. But also, some of the artwork is very simplified in this deck, which is so unfortunate. The art is simply just absolutely beautiful. One of the worst things, there are simplifications throughout the deck that I've noticed, but one of the worst is the coins. These are coins in the Rolla Tarot, and they're all different. And here we have just these boring pentacles that are just repeated, the same one. And then some of the other artwork, the people and other imagery, is a little more intricate on the Rolla Tarot. So that's unfortunate, but I do really like the black background with the white line work. It is really pretty, and there are some times when this is just the mood, and I like to use this deck. It's just so soothing to use. I have other decks that, I have a couple too, that have black backgrounds, even though the subjects are in color. I had to switch out my battery there, but as I was saying, that black background, even when the subject of the card is in color, is just really soothing to me sometimes. So this has that effect as well. So this is an old favorite. I've had this deck for a long time. And despite some of the unfortunate changes to the line work from the original Rolla Tarot, I still really like it. I think it's lovely. And it's a classic. How nice is that? And it's just like soothing and unstimulating to use sometimes. All right, so that is US Games Inversion Tarot. Nice little mini deck in a tin. And this is Edward Gorey's Fantod pack. I saw this first on Kathy's channel. I just remembered it. I couldn't find it, but it's Nothing So Strange. Kathy from Nothing So Strange showed this. Apparently Edward Gorey has made another deck, which is not in print, at least one other one. This is just silly and ridiculous, but I'm a big Edward Gorey fan. I have been since I was pretty young. And so when I saw this on Kathy's channel a long time ago, I couldn't resist. It's very silly, so fun. It's not the most useful deck in the world, but it is black and white. It's very glossy. And, you know, kind of, I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't go so far as to call it creepy, like most of Edward Gorey's work, but it's unsettling for sure. The blue dog, I don't know, he's a little unsettling looking. But the book is so unhelpful. It is not in, the cards aren't numbered. They are not in alphabetical order, so you just have to kind of flip through them. The instructions for using the deck are ridiculous and super funny. It involves throwing the cards up in the air and then reading them. So it's very silly and fun. So yeah, let's just go ahead and choose a card, and I will read you the entry for that card. I will probably skip parts because some of the keywords are a little offensive. but they're funny. I wouldn't say offensive, not in like a bigoted way or anything like that, but just subject matter that I wouldn't want to discuss without a warning on my channel. All right, so let's choose a card here. We've got very fun backs. So what have we got? Oh, the bottle. I guess that was meant to be. What is that in the bottle? I don't know. Some kind of creature. So let's see. And we just have to look through it. There are no pictures. Again, no numbers, not alphabetical. So you just have to look through all of them until you find the bottle. The bottle. December. Melancholia. Itching, unfortunate publicity, a disregarded warning, irregularity, an accident on a bicycle, loss of feeling, flukes, vexation, intrigue, abandonment, frustrated hopes. And that was all of them. That's the entire entry. There weren't any that I had to, or that I felt compelled to skip. So how do you use that? I don't know. I've not used these in a serious reading, but I have used them for fun. And this, what even is that? It's not labeled. I don't know. It's just there, kind of looking creepy. The limb. So this is a lot of fun if you are an Edward Gorey fan. And a lovely black and white deck. The yellow bird. Okay. The burning head. Why not? But it was very inexpensive, as far as I know, still very easily available. So like I said, I just could not resist. And finally, this is one that had been on my wish list for quite a while. I first saw it on Hugo's eBay shop. Hugo of Four Great Collectibles. He's in Argentina. He ships cards both from Argentina and from Spain. So this is made in Argentina. This is by Connie Curry, and it is Tarot de la Fuerza. And ever since I saw this when it was first released, the second edition, when it was first released, Hugo had it listed on his site, and I've been wanting it ever since. It is a Triumphs only deck, although this is a full-sized box. So Hugo very considerately cut some custom pieces of cardboard, which he placed in front of and in back of the deck for protection while it shipped. Tarot de la Fuerza. Now, Connie Curry has a new deck coming out. She's created a couple, or she's at least done the art for another deck that was for somebody else. Hired as the artist for a tarot deck that someone else was directing, I guess. But her new deck, the Wild Earth Tarot, which is her reinterpretation of the Marseille tradition, is coming out in September from Rockpool. I've got it pre-ordered myself, and I'm really excited for it. But this is a Triumphs only deck. Her style is kind of pin-up, a little spicy, and just kind of like fun. She calls it like lo-fi, I think, and nostalgic. There's the zombie hand for Judgment, which I see that theme repeated here and there. The Popes. I think it's really fun. Oh, and there are two Loco cards. I do really like this more traditional one, kind of reminiscent of the Montaigne Misero. But I think this one fits the theme of the deck better. And I like how even the Jester's Marat is faceless. Super cool. And I just really like her graphic art style. Like the little bat-winged devilish Cupid. Here's another faceless individual. Super awesome hermit. And she says in one of the descriptions somewhere on her site that she's had a long time fascination with the art surrounding fortune telling. You can really see that here. This is the one card that I don't think fits the art style. I do like this little skull here in the wall, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, I guess the Emperor is supposed to be boring, but I think he's a little out of place. I think he could have been more fun, maybe dressed in a more flirtatious manner, perhaps, like all the other characters. beautiful world with an Ouroboros. I love this death. Look how jolly he is. And it's in Spanish, which is fun. Gorgeous, gorgeous moon card. I really like this one. It's super fun and silly, I think. And one more faceless character in the Magician, and then a very humorous, I think, devil card. So it's a super fun Spanish language, majors only deck. A lot of times I will keep repeated cards in, but the main spread I use for Triumphs Only is the spread in Fleur Noir's book, which uses all the cards. So it wouldn't really work with an extra card. Now, I find with Triumphs Only decks that overhand shuffling is sufficient to get them thoroughly shuffled. But this deck is so deliciously bendy. Like, if this were a full deck, it would be so fun to riffle shuffle. And I have riffle shuffled it, or I do, just because the cardstock is just asking to be riffle shuffled, but it's a very unsatisfying shuffle with only 22 cards. It is rose petal finish and just super bendy and nice. Jay, if you're watching this, I would consider this to be similar to that cardstock that you enjoy, like with the carrot tarts. So bendy, rose petal kind of deck. So this is a lovely black and white deck that has really pretty printing inside. I really enjoy it, and I'm super excited about her new Wild Earth Tarot that's coming out. The art looks just spectacular. And unfortunately, even though her site says ships worldwide, she does not. They only ship to Spain. I don't know if Hugo has any more of these, but if you're interested in her artwork, I highly recommend the rock pool version of her new deck coming out. This one is Tarot de la Fuerza, and the new one is the Wild Earth Tarot. So those are my black and white decks, my friends. I thought it was a fun opportunity to jump in on a couple of legacy tags, and feel free to help me resurrect these tags if you're interested, and check out those other videos. I will link them, the most recent being Ellen from Moomin Tarot. She made a black and white deck tag just recently, so I'll put that at the top for you if you're interested. If you enjoy black and white decks on occasion, tell me what you like about them. Like I said, I find them really soothing and introspective. What do you think? I am absolutely honored to have you here with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. See you then. Bye.